ping so that we can get everyone. And okay. Do that as well. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get into this. So what we are looking at here is the group stages. So this is the standings coming out of Swiss. This makes the groups. Officially, we haven't seen these uploaded on StartGG, but we have seen the tournament organizers post this as the groups. This also follows the rules for how they would be generated. I believe this was actually made by Kernmaster from University of Nevada, and they got hopefully they got permission before posting it. But now they've posted it. Now we're using it. Hopefully Kernmaster is good with us using the work product of their work products. But here we go for the groups. So I'm going to go ahead and go through these. And first things first, why don't we go ahead and sort of tier the teams that, are top teams that could potentially, depending on what group they were in, could get through a group. Teams that would usually be just outside but could maybe catch a team that was messing up. And then maybe we'll do two sub tiers below that. We've got four easy to use colors here. Let's go ahead and use them. So as we go through here, St. Clair would be expected. We'll use blue as our strongest color here, and maybe we'll even do a little up arrow. They'd be expected to be able to win a group. ASU Sun Devils would also be expected to be able to get out of a group. For those that don't know, the groups are the top 64 teams out of the 400 or so that signed up for Swiss, and then that's 8 groups. The top 2 from each group get out. Northeastern, some people would call this borderline, but I'll put them here. Regardless, this is going to be put 3 in this group that would be top 20 teams by Okra rankings that would be kind of expected to get out of their group depending on the group that they were in. Over here, we're going to see Winthrop, who had the number 2. I probably have them as the number 1 team right now, but that's a little controversial. Fisher Freaks and Boise would all be expected to get out of a group depending on the group that they were in here. Maryville, of course, same thing. Blinn, I'm going to come back to. UCI, I'm going to come back to. St. Thomas, I'm going to put like this. And Blinn and UCI are important because I know I teased it in the title there. Hey, Hedwig, how you doing? But Blinn and UCI potentially both have, not potentially, reportedly, both have roster problems, and the sources are people on or attached to those rosters going into group stage and playoffs here. UCI, I believe, is losing both of their starting DPS. Maybe we already saw a small preview of that in their match against Fisher Fiends, Fisher's third team. They did lose that. That's how they came out 6-2 here, but they had Romani on DPS. Now, supposedly, they are down both DPS, have Light heading over to Korea, and that's just going to be okay. I don't know that you can really consider this a team if they're missing that many people. You can't have that much roster depth. Like, Romani is great roster depth, but what's it really going to look like in terms of competitive level here? So are they still expected to get through? Maybe, but I'm going to downgrade them certainly a tier from where they were before. Blinn, I understand, has lost a DPS player as well heading into groups and playoffs here. So once again, rating these teams, usually this would have been the death group. This is what everyone looked at and said, oh my goodness, it's the death group. But I'll just go ahead and move over to my slightly, maybe for this we'll just do this, where these aren't quite as strong as you would have expected before. Could they catch a St. Thomas messing up? Absolutely. Did St. Thomas maybe already mess up? They dropped to Utah, and that was an upset. I mean, Utah rears its head once every couple years, maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years, and goes, hey, no, we're good. Don't forgetting about us. Stop writing us off. And this time they did so by beating St. Thomas. That said, they don't have a second meaningful win to put behind it. The only thing I saw them compete in was ABC. We've only had 8 rounds of Swiss. The first 4 to 5 rounds of of matches were kind of junk for this Swiss, where it didn't correctly calibrate to find your opponents based on your wins and losses because forfeits weren't counting as wins. The last 3 rounds were better, but 8 rounds with 5 of them kind of junked. Not the best thing for getting good opponents. You're going to see a lot of these teams really did not beat any convincing opponents to get to where they are. Regardless, for now, I'm putting that like that. Our group of death, maybe a group of death in the sense of a group of roster death. Okay, bad joke. But that seems to be what we are looking at here. So downgrading both of these a little bit. I'll show where I'd put them on my power rankings after we sort of go through the groups more generally here. But we had that. Let's go back to our blue because we're picking sort of potential group winners here. Converse, certainly a potential. Let's go back. Certainly a potential for a group. Northwood will actually win their group. UTD is not at the level. I don't think UTD is even at the level of a Blinn or a Blinn missing one or a UCI missing multiple. I just don't think those are real. Not anymore anyways. They don't have their tank. Obviously that's been known in Overwatch drama. Swear words, how dare they? And then they had disagreements before their tank got banned over whether they were going to play Brawl or not. UTD is not the UTD of old that was a perennial top 15 or even top 7, etc. So we'll come back to some of these teams like I believe that's Miami, Ohio. We'll come back to some of these to mark them up with other colors, like we marked up Blinn and UCI with other colors, where they could certainly catch a St. Thomas asleep. Are they going to catch a Maryville? No. Am I going to build a different color just for the top 5 teams that really could not be caught even if they were asleep? No, I'm not. But let's move on to our next group here. And we've got Rutgers would be expected to win their group. In previous versions, it looked like Ohio was going to get out of this group, which was, certainly surprising, but we did see stuff traded around a little bit. We do now have Illinois, and we have Bellevue in here as well. Any of these 3 getting through, my guesses would be Rutgers and Bellevue, but any of these 3 getting through would not at all be surprising. Illinois State, that's ISU or the Redbirds. I'm not going to go ahead and mark Utah because they only have one real win. They only have one win above the bubble at this point. And that's cool. It's really cool to see that they beat St. Thomas, and St. Thomas does have other wins this semester. And a year or 2 ago, one win against a team, especially early in a semester, would be enough to move you all around the tier list and do this unless you had worse losses dragging you down. And Utah doesn't have those worse losses dragging you down. But at this point, there's enough data on everyone. There's more matches played. We're basically at the end of the semester, not at the beginning of a semester. There's more matches played, sort of more meaningful matches played in general, in part because there's many more actually meaningful teams than there would have been 2, 3, 4 years ago, etc. So I'm not going to give them this. I am going to give them this one color downgrade that we gave to Blinn and UCI here. Let's maybe try to get that a little bit better. Do I actually think they'll get out of this group, though? Yes. Yes, I do. I expect that they'll get out of this group if they were able to upset St. Thomas, unless St. Thomas was having just a terrible, terrible day. Let's go back here, and let's continue. Your guess is Minnesota. I think Minnesota's a strong guess. When I go to the next color down from red, pink, whatever here, Minnesota will definitely get that color. There are some schools that, again, reds upsetting blues, totally normal. I guess next we'll probably use yellows. Yellows upsetting reds, yeah, that could happen too. I won't say totally normal on that, but upsetting one color up isn't going to terribly shock me, I guess is what I'd say on this stuff. So we move over here. Grandview got in top of a group. Didn't really beat anyone to do it. Lost to one of the Fishers. Didn't really beat anyone. Hey, 7-1, it'll get you a king spot, quote unquote, in a group, but that is not going to be they really haven't proven it this semester. Last semester, I don't think they technically proved it last semester either. They were the literal king of the bubble. They shut down everyone who tried to pass, but they didn't actually get any wins into teams in the top 15 there, whereas top 15 was about the cutoff where you had teams 4 through 15 all had some level of ability to trade with each other, had gotten wins against other people in that 4 to 15 group, etc. Grandview last semester, I did not get any wins into that group, but did not to lose to anyone outside of that group either. So they were literally king of the bubble. This semester, supposedly they weren't scrimming all semester, didn't have player availability, yada yada yada. Regardless, they're 7-1 without any super meaningful wins, but very similar roster to last semester, so you wouldn't want to count them as dead, and they did get through to here. Georgia Tech, I am also going to give this to. Maybe a little controversial. Maybe Georgia Tech deserves a blue. Maybe Georgia Tech deserves a blue. They did beat both Bellevue and Bryant Stratton. Those are both schools that are in the top 20. Those are both schools that Bryant Stratton off legacy sort of has been carried into the top 20. You look at them, we'll jump over. I'm not doing this without referencing stuff anymore. It'll just be cleaner like this. I'm not wiping the board because then I'll lose stuff. This is what my power rankings currently look like, by the way. And the reason that the big changes that you'll see is Irvine is way down here and Blinn is way down here. This may be too far of a move. It may not be a big enough of a move. Irvine would have been right up over here before. Blinn would have been somewhere over here-ish, maybe. Both of these teams are falling off of them losing players for group stage and playoffs, and that's everything at this point because that's what's left in the Overwatch collegiate season. Okay, how you doing, Adam? How you doing, Squirts and blah? Okay, so that's sort of so what I was looking at here is Georgia Tech. I do technically have ahead of these teams because Georgia Tech beat Bellevue and Bryant Stratton, and Bryant Stratton last semester got top 8 in ABC, looked really good last semester. This semester has not found those convincing wins. Hasn't competed in too many things. Well, did compete, I suppose, a little bit in one of the CECC qualifiers. They did get beat up by St. Thomas, I remember. I think they also took a loss to Blinn. But then in ABC, they lost to Georgia Tech here. So have they fallen apart? Well, I don't think they've totally fallen apart, but I do think maybe they've moved around who they're playing. Maybe they haven't. Whatever the case may be there. They've certainly, in some situations, are showing some different players, but players that are on the roster maybe moving around, maybe those aren't available. I know there's always their players tend to do, I don't know this, but I believe their players tend to compete in multiple esports, so their rosters can be a little bit fluid. So they haven't shown us the wins this semester, so they're at the bottom here, is really what I'm going at there. But they have in the past. Bellevue, similar thing. So should Georgia Tech be ultimately the next color up ahead of them? Yeah, probably. Probably. Oh, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, come on. Probably. I should probably mark Georgia Tech as the next color. I'm just really. I want to see more because I'm not actually convinced that BSC is held on. Maybe they have. Maybe they have. A win over Bellevue and BSC should kind of do it, but we'll see. There we go. We've got Adam coming in with a $2 super chat saying, "Here, poor boy, dance for the YouTube peanuts." Hey, I'm happy for the $2 super chat. Thank you, Adam. Thank you. I appreciate that. So then we move on to Group H, and we are going to have Group H. Let's go back here, and let's get Fisher is going to be Fisher's main team. Bryant Stratton. Again, same sort of thing. I could very easily make this team red instead. I could very easily do it with the Georgia Tech loss and lack of wins, but I'm gonna do that for the moment. And then you look through here and you go, okay, well, that sort of gives us most of these. Is there anyone else that we should be marking off as this really in gear to challenge the next tier up? Utah, Grandview, UCI, Blinn, Georgia Tech. Is there anyone else who really is right there for on the cusp of beating it? And if we look back at our tier list, maybe that can provide us some guidance. Are there teams that are sort of, just here, but sort of collapse? No. Well, Utah we put there, Grandview we put there, maybe in Miami, Ohio, and MSU and Mizzou. I think we're not quite going to do that. I think we're going to do these teams behind Grandview and Utah in the next color. I think that's what we're going to do here is our process. So let's pull out our next color. It's going to be yellow. And we're going to look at this and what's sort of the next tier of team. And the next tier of team is going to have Mizzou. The next tier of team is also going to have, I don't think I can do Pitt or Co for this. I can't do Cal for this or York. This, I believe, is Miami, Ohio, which I'm happy to do. Yellow on yellow, I know. Rebel Gaming, not quite going to make that. Ohio, really close, but I'm not quite going to do it. And Minnesota for sure are going to go there. U2 would be the next color down. IWU does make it. This is New York's main team, which does make it. And UW can make it as well. And then I'll real quickly wrap this up and I'll sort of talk about why, address questions, all that good stuff. I don't even like Miami, but I fear they clear Northeastern. That's nice, Ninja. How you doing? We will see at ESC playoffs since Ninja is doing a little setting up a little promotion there. ESC playoffs are this weekend at Ball State University. LAN event, top 4 teams. Semifinals will be Miami, Ohio versus Ohio and Northeastern versus Ball State. And smart money would probably put Miami, Ohio, and Northeastern in the finals, but it's not over till it's over. Ohio's been looking quite good lately. And then, I would expect Northeastern to win that pretty handily. Miami did get the win. It was early in the regular season. It was Ambush Mauga Comp. Totally good on them. Totally good on them to get that. That absolutely is a win. But Northeastern has handled opponents that are quite a bit stronger in terms of the rest of the rest of the semester in other tournaments, be they Kentucky qualifiers, be they Kentucky LAN, even some of those ABC matches. You're going to see the opponent strength, etc. But that's fine. We will see in the playoffs there. Okay. So let's go ahead. Briar should have yellow. Why? Let's take a look here. Briar, which group are they in? Briar in Group B. Let's take a look. So let's see if someone is just repping their team, which I can understand, but is not going to be overly convincing. Which means Briar should be 31, which is going to put them on page 2 for this. So let's find out who Briar has played against, because that name has no legacy strength from previous semesters. They have never been a team. They have never been a team that people have cared about, that people have, paid attention to, etc. So, Briar, who did you guys play against? Lost to Irvine, beat SCAD. SCAD is not the thing that they were. I know they've still got a couple of their old players like Snape and Cabimas, but they're just not there anymore. And you can see that based on their record. They didn't even make groups, I don't believe. We'll take a quick look through here just to kind of show people who know the old SCAD and go, wait, SCAD should be legit. SCAD should be a real team. Beating them should be a lot of value. If we were talking 2 years ago, absolutely that would do it. But SCAD, okay. SCAD lost to NYU's second team. They didn't even show up to go against Northeastern. They played the first round match and then just forfeited to us, and we couldn't get in touch with them. I don't know what happened there. They lost. No, they beat Oregon. No, they beat one of Oregon's teams. I don't know if that's Top Oregon. But they lost to New York Ultraviolet second team, and that tells me all I need to know. Like, okay, so that's not enough for SCAD, but we weren't really trying to evaluate SCAD. We were trying to evaluate Briar here. And does Briar have anything more interesting for us? Briar has A win over Ferris. Okay. Ferris is, probably a top 40 team. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here. So can you tell me about their wins in other tournaments that are leading you to try to convince me that they should be marked in the this color here? Why Briar should have yellow? Like, why do you believe Briar is equivalent to like a Mizzou or an IWU or a Miami or a New York Ultraviolets? Like, all of those teams have done stuff that has, put them as a threat on the board. Be that upsetting teams in that next tier up, be that, regularly handling teams in this tier, be that getting maps off teams that are two tiers up. Like, give me something. You wouldn't put Briar that high up. Yeah. Kent win? That's not enough for the tier that we're talking about. Like IWU and Miami, Ohio, and Mizzou, like these are teams that can and or have wounded. These are teams that you would consider in the bubble. Like they have not gone, oh hey, we can play into that group that has shown the good at Overwatch and Collegiate. The top tier of Collegiate Overwatch is the top 5 teams. They're the all potential winners. But the next cluster of teams at this point, that's probably 5 through 20, maybe 5 through 17, something like that. That's sort of the good at collegiate Overwatch tier. Like that is the, I don't want to say the bulk because we know we had 400 teams sign up for ABC, but those are the teams that are like, these are the capable, competent, good teams, whatever you want to call it, can make it into playoffs, have some ability to trade with each other, are strong without being the absolute monsters that are Winthrop, which is an Owl team, or Maryville, which is, might probably the second best team in OWCSNA right now. Like, without being that sort of tier. And the teams that I've highlighted in yellow have mostly proven at some point or another, maybe not all this semester, but, at least in previous semesters and not that long ago semesters with very similar rosters, that they can wound or make those teams bleed. Hey Nordstorm, how you doing? You would bet big money on Briar over IWU all day. I think IWU is pretty hit or miss. I think a lot of these teams that have highlighted in yellow, actually, they are a lot of the teams that have made it up to red. Have found consistency. They may not be able to beat the teams in blue, or maybe, some of the lower teams in blue, they can. Take your pick. You could pick exactly where it cuts off. Like if you wanted to put Northeastern, Bellevue, etc. in red instead of blue, I could understand those takes. Same thing with BSU, like we said, BSC rather, like we said here. Like there's some teams that you could potentially do that with, and it doesn't hugely make a difference. Like they're near the border, just like Utah and Grandview are near the border for going the other direction and potentially turning blue on that. But the point that I was making is the teams in the blue and the red there are really consistent enough for the most part that barring extreme cheese comps or like flat out multiple players missing, they're just they're not going to fall to these, like they have the consistency down is sort of what it is. Whereas a team like IWU, consistency really not going to be there the same way. A team like Miami, Ohio, in his previous semesters has sort of been famous for they'll take down some big head, they'll scalp someone's big head. I remember semesters where they took down Boise. This semester, like I mentioned, they took down Northeastern earlier in the season, but then they'll have losses that make you go, wait, how can you beat this team and then lose to this team? And you mostly have that ironed out in these blue and red teams, or if I put this another way, you pretty much have that ironed out. I don't know what the case will be with these two teams because, again, they just effectively lost players, but everything in this mid cluster really does have it pretty firmly controlled in terms of there aren't very many whoopsie accidents to the next year down, at least once you get past, say, like like this is the only ones in here that on really good days they'll sometimes strike up. These guys pretty consistently handle the next tier down, but not perfect, and it's not perfect. I mean, there are things where hey, they do it, and should some of these go up, if they You can prove 2 wins. I'm happy. That's I'm more than happy to move anyone that can prove 2 wins. I'm more than happy to move people in a lot of cases early in the semester that can prove 1. These clusters a little crowded. Yeah, I think they are a little crowded, Orion, and I think that's intentional. I don't think we've actually established all that much distance. That was sort of the thing I commented on last time I did a tier list video here, where we are mostly in a situation where could go like that, and with if Irvine still had its roster, it might even look like that. But for the most part, this is an intentional tier gap where these 4, maybe these 5, but these 4 teams are simply better than the rest. But then there didn't seem to be that much space between really many people in this cluster. Again, that may change a little bit with Blinn and UCI having their rosters lose some players there, but we were seeing a lot of trade. We saw Blinn's wild run where they went, okay, take down ASU, take down, a ton of teams, we saw Bellevue with a win over Boise earlier this semester. We saw all sorts of craziness. These teams were clearly pretty tightly packed. We didn't have a real upper cluster, or if we did, it looked like this. Anyway, moving back to our groups themselves. I think this is what I would do, but if people have more thoughts on teams that they think belong in this yellow or even the red, we'll take a quick scan of chat here. Hey, Ginja, how you doing? Rebel, Rebel is the one. It was someone from Rebel Gaming who effectively created this. That I don't want to say ABC lifted. Hopefully they got permission to use because this looks like a slightly different version of it. But I recognize the colors, so hopefully, and I imagine they would have had permission. I imagine that was an easy ask. Times may be wrong. Okay. Match times are live. Oh, did they just go live? They're okay. We can pull that up if that just went live. And that's good news if that's true. Okay, so let me pull up briefly matches just because if those are there, that's the championship bracket. That's not what we want. Give us the group stage bracket. And we'll go like that. And that will let us ping back over to here. And we already knew that these were the things. Okay, so we can see these. This would, in theory, let us look through play orders. And we will circle back to this once we finish to get... Excuse me. We will circle back to that a little later in the stream to figure out what important matches are being played early versus late between, kings or challengers for groups here, or each individual group. I'm trying. There we go. Wait, did groups get shuffled? Oh no. I think we put UTD in the king tier. You are dreaming, Orion. I don't think Kashir's playing. With Derpy not playing, I do know Petal came back, but I don't believe Kashir came back. And, that's an unpracticed team that I don't believe has gone into overdrive, let's scrim 12 times a week, etc. since that happened. I think they've sort of accepted the fate. But hey, we'll see. I wouldn't put them in the king tier. I would put them in this next tier that I'm doing. I think king tier is a wild take, honestly. They could have been in yellow tier, but I think king tier is a wild take with what they're doing now. One team dropped. Oh, so everything shuffles. Derpy diff. Times may be wrong. They asked. Would play because PSU should be in Group B, but Waterloo's in there. That just means groups got shuffled. You got Freaks and Winthrop on first day. Squirt. Which team are you with? I don't remember. Okay, a team dropped and that shuffles everything. I can probably shuffle it reasonably quickly. You need DPS. Not to be too harsh there, Ginja, but Yes, yes. I mean, Converse's always had the where do we find a DPS player among our four tank players? And I know you've had that role a lot this year, but and Hammer's been doing it for a bit, obviously. Obviously, I remember your predecessor was frequently on the Torb, except for the one meta where he was the tank on Wrecking Ball. Converse has had a fun time making its tank players work on DPS. Did Co drop? That doesn't change anything for groups, to be honest. Just shuffles the bottom teams. Oh, you're on Co. Got it. No, Co is who dropped. Okay. You haven't told me who you're on. No. Okay. You're on Co and you just have a tough first day. Got it. Okay. So I was going through here and doing teams. Maybe I'm not being fair to UTD. I'm probably not being fair to UTD. Pedal's playing again. I'm I don't think that they are king level. I don't think Kashir's playing with them. If he is, that probably still doesn't change my mind because I just think they don't have the practice. They shuffled their tank. Didn't they haven't been vibing and feeling it all semester, etc. And it sort of is a okay, well, we made the decision that we were playing Rhine, we were doing this, etc. And then our Rhine player got banned, and the team made this decision, or staff made this decision, or whatever. And now we've got to come back with our tail between our legs and say, hey, will you guys please play with us? Like, even if that does happen, it's not going to be a. I don't expect it to be a great team environment at that point. Could be, could be. I'm going to mark them in yellow. There is absolutely enough real talent there that if they have good, are in a good mental spot and had been working with this roster all semester, I would absolutely expect them to be in the orange tier or the red tier, excuse me. Coach Kim. Okay. Okay. So I don't think they still don't think they make it out with Converse and Northwood there. Agreed. Agreed, Twin Salty. And you guys on the committee are happy to join voice if you want. You don't have to. I'm not putting pressure on you to do so, but I am in Okra voice chat if committee members want to hop in there and, yell about their things with a louder platform. But I will probably pick you up in chat anyways here. Okay, yeah. So we look at that, and I was marking off our final tier of relevancy here. And our sort of final tier of relevancy, Waterloo has been threatening in the past. Pittsburgh has been threatening in the past. Co beat Ball, even if it's a Ball that doesn't have Monway this semester. Cal is better than people expect them to be. Can't quite give it to Oklahoma. I want to, but I don't think so. Rebel Gaming. Yeah, for this tier, I think that's fine. I'm going to do it for Oklahoma as well for this tier. Ohio should have been in. Ohio probably deserves. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ohio would be the very top of this, maybe the bottom of yellow. What else do we have here? Denver, Penn for sure. And sure, Ball still makes that. GMU Patriots are going to make this tier. I wouldn't have put them there in the past, but they did a couple things that surprised me. They got a win over Washington. They got a map off Bryant Stratton, I believe. Those are things I wouldn't have expected. Obviously, I'm familiar with the team. Columbia makes this tier. And then those are all the teams I'd be interested in marking. And again, what I would consider here is blue teams are teams that you would usually expect to get out of groups, depending on the groups that they're in. Obviously, there's going to be groups that have too many of them. Red teams are teams that have real, a real shot at catching a blue team slipping, or may stand in for a blue team if there's just not enough. Like seeing a Grandview, a Georgia Tech, a Utah at this point, in playoffs is like, yeah, well, that's kind of what you're going to expect with some of these because there simply weren't enough blues in their group, etc. It's not like, oh my goodness, how did that happen? It's just, okay, Swiss maybe had that. Or maybe we'll find that Utah, Grandview, etc. are just absolutely fantastic once they get some real opponents to go against here because obviously 8 rounds of Swiss and a weak one at that, poorly seeded one at that, did not get us the best seeding for groups here. Did I miss Cincinnati? Cincinnati absolutely does. Cincinnati deserves more than a black dash, probably. Cincinnati probably deserves a yellow, in fact. Yeah. Rare beat Co 3-1. Got to give them their black tier. No, I don't. I have to do no such thing. I didn't give Co a black thing either. Did I? I could have, but I don't think I did. Oh, I did.
Hello, hello. Sorry, I just joined in.
Oh, how's it going? How's it
Good,
going?
you?
Who'd we get here? Hey, Twin Salty, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing nice. Happy to hear it. So, hopefully there's not too much of a delay on the stream. You'll probably want to mute the stream, but that way you can at least still see what we're looking at here. So, any other teams you think should be marked here? Or do you have wildly different opinions on anything? Change colors? What do you want to yell at me about since you just got up the energy to hop in stream here?
I'd say I would say Briarcliff could maybe get a black dash. I think they have a
Okay,
chance
okay.
to maybe
Where have you
mix
seen
it
them
up
play? What are they
there.
competing in besides this?
They've been competing at NECC. They beat Co
Okay.
recently, and I think they beat somebody else around that area too. So I think they're at least they could shake up like the middle of Group B.
I
I
mean,
don't
in
expect them
that group
to.
is dead because Boise
Oh
will
yeah.
pick up any remains if Fisher messes up, Boise will pick that up, and no one else is
Oh,
going to.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
other than that, no, I think honestly that's the only thing that I would have added in. Um, just looking at some of these groups, it is kind of weird to see. You have. I feel bad for Northeastern because they actually had a decent round
See,
robin,
I feel
and
bad for ASU because they ended up in a group with Northeastern. There, yeah, I know. I'm giving you shit.
of course the ASU and Northeastern reps in the same call. It's like,
Yeah. Uh,
I
no,
don't
it's it's
honestly.
it's it's fine. I mean, ours actually does maybe look like the most dangerous group at this point. I suppose I'd say it does because the other option would be Group E. It's just a day ago Group C was definitely the death group.
Yeah, Group C went from looking like the death group to,
St.
maybe.
Thomas, who lost to Utah, might slip in. Huh? That's a little. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like Group B, I'm more interested on Freaks versus Boise. Like, we know Winthrop's gonna win that group,
Of course.
but I don't know, Boise's so weird this year. They're either really good or really not, and I know they've been adapting without Clear, and they've been getting there. It's just a question of do they get there in time?
So my understanding is Clear wasn't here most of the semester, or wasn't playing for them most of the semester. It must have been enrolled in
Yep.
classes online, etc., but was in Korea, and then was back here for a couple weeks, and I believe is back to Korea now, or will be for this. So I don't know that I expect them to be totally steady footing. I don't expect them to be the Boise of last semester. That doesn't mean that they're not,
No.
still top 20, 18, 17, 15, whatever, but I don't I don't think they get past Fisher's second team with the jumbling that's going on there. That sounds like the same page for you?
Yeah, I don't think they will either. I guess let me check when they do play the big teams because that Korea LAN is only the first weekend.
Okay.
So if they do play them the second weekend, then maybe Clear is back at that point. I don't know how quickly he would get back. Let me see when they play the better if they play Fisher Freaks or Winthrop that second weekend, but mainly Fisher because I don't think they get a map off Winthrop.
Sure. Sure.
And I guess the only other thing that I thought about is that final round of games will be some of those teams might be in Texas. I wonder if that will be a
Oh,
lane
absolutely.
advantage for anybody or a
I
disadvantage.
think we're going to have lots of things because I think a lot of colleges are in finals weeks right now. Some will be in finals week next week. We're going to have a lot of graduations conflicting with some of these things. And then we're going to have absolutely Texas, CECC. We've got, again, four of these teams. I know in Northeastern Ohio, Ball, and Miami, Ohio, this weekend are at a LAN in Indiana. Like it's the end of the semester. This is going to be a crowded one. I think this will be the most scheduling impact we've had to ABC, with the possible exception of the final Owl finals during Swiss last semester.
Oh my god,
That was a
yeah.
disaster.
That was an absolute disaster. Boise does. Let me look here. When did Boise? Boise plays Winthrop on the 4th,
Okay.
but I don't know if they play. I think they play Fisher before, if I'm looking at it right. They'll play them this coming weekend,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a little unfortunate for Boise because I think if they do play them the next week, then maybe it's a little different. Yeah, they play on the 28th. So, okay, yeah, I don't know if Boise gets out then. That's rough.
I, yeah, I think that's a tough one. I think that's a really tough one. Um, and then I think Group C is just too hard to tell at this point. Like, I know I'm putting the
Yeah.
difference between those, but the reality is, how well is UCI going to cope with a giant roster swing around, even if they have good players? And Blynn's only losing one, but I just don't think they have the roster depth to handle it.
Yeah, them losing their hit scan of all players during this meta is that's hard to combat from because like they've been practicing with them all year, and
Right.
then what the final 2-3 weeks of the season, like, all right, I dropped, and I'm gone for whatever reason. It's like that's yeah, I don't think there could be any more poor of timing on
Yeah.
that line, but it's nothing the
But I
players can
think everyone's
control.
gonna. I think there's gonna be a lot of poor timing with this group stage. Like I
Oh
really do
yeah,
think between graduations and finals and final projects, and especially because a lot of these teams are clubs, and there's literally nothing they can. Like there's nothing they can do about some of this stuff the way some of the varsity programs can. Okay, shouldn't be too many finals on weekends, but move stuff around, etc.
oh, we had yeah, I know that feeling because I've been
Yeah, you
starting to
guys are
do that
club,
for
right?
yeah, we're club, and
Okay.
I know when we get to Texas, we'll have to have Anhu, who's our flex CPS, leave early because I have to proctor his exam at 9 p.m. Central that Thursday night, so he could be there on time
Ooh,
to actually play on Friday. But we're like, "Hey, if that's the only thing we gotta move around and have funky, then, we're gonna vibe with it." But at least everything
absolutely.
else, at least for us, like, didn't end up too bad, and graduation for us is that next week.
Okay.
So, it ended up being alright, but it's like, it definitely could have been worse. I know some programs are trying to figure that out.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Okay. And how are you feeling? I know maybe I didn't. How are you feeling about Group G there? Like, do you think Grandview's real good? Is Woods talking? Because Woods always says, their coach, that, oh no, we haven't been practicing, don't rank us, et cetera, this semester. But, I mean, we can't ignore them. They have the top seed in a
No.
group right now. And then Georgia Tech with the wins over Bellevue and Bryant Stratton. How do you feel sort of about the bottom of the top 20, which I think probably includes the Georgia Techs, the maybe the Bellevues, the Bryant Strattons? Like, how do you feel about those teams, or maybe even the Northeastern? Here, I'll throw that in there. You can take shots at my team if you want. How,
Yeah.
how do you feel
I
about
think
that?
Northeastern, if they were in a different group, like if they were in Group E, if they were in Group G, F, like any of those groups, they would have a really good chance. I think it is just because St. Clair has been playing really well as of late.
Sure,
And it's honestly a shame they're not going to CECC because I think they could have been a really good dark horse team.
sure.
And then I don't know. I'm obviously going to be biased, right?
Oh, you
About
have to
ASU,
be
I
biased
think.
towards your team. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be biased. I do think it's still going to be a good game. Like I'm
Okay.
pretty sure both when we play you and St. Clair, it's when we're in Texas, so we'll see if that changes things at all.
Okay, got it, got it. So I just
But
need to, make sure we've got some power outages or maybe some internet
yeah,
issues over
right.
there. I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I think Northeastern are one of the better bubble teams, and they just got hurt by the grouping.
Okay,
I agree that UTD, they may get fourth in that Group D. I don't think they're that great,
okay.
especially because we don't
Glad to
know
know I'm
where they're
not
going to
crazy
be
here
with
because
who's
I was looking
playing.
at that
No,
and I'm
you were
going, I
not
think it's
crazy.
Miami over them. Pretty, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Group B, I'd have Freaks, Winthrop. I would is even though it's not going to mean anything, I'm very curious to see how the middle of Group B plays out.
Sure, you've been
Just
following some of these
because,
teams, it sounds like, or maybe casting some of these
yeah,
teams. Okay.
I've seen them occasionally. Like I've seen Cincy once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Well, that would
that
make
like
dividing happy.
dividing is going to be very happy. I think.
Yeah.
But I would say Group C, it sucks because UCI, if they had their normal roster, I think they go in with Maryville. But like you said, I think St. Thomas is the second team there. Group D is obviously Northwood Converse.
Yep.
E, it's so weird because I want to believe in Ohio, but they haven't
There's
played
no way. I
anybody.
mean, Ohio
They
got the
haven't
we
played
saw
anybody.
like I like Ohio, but we saw sort of going into the last weekend that there were two teams playing each other for round 7 that were just teams that no one recognized, everyone knew was nothing, and that always meant someone was going to get fed them for round 8, and
Oh
Ohio
yeah.
ended up getting the winner of that. And no knocks on Ohio. Ohio's been playing some of the best Overwatch they've ever played, but they're just Illinois Orange is not going to lose to Ohio unless Illinois Orange. Uh, I can't see it.
No, I have it probably a double Big Ten, Rutgers and Illinois, but
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers and Illinois Bellevue could be a really good game.
It could be.
Uh,
How do you feel about Bellevue right now? Obviously, Stone's been away playing on Pirates in pajamas there, and like, do you think that's generally been good or bad for teams? Like, what's your feeling on that? When teams, obviously the players that leave get really good reps, but then the team doesn't practice together. How do you feel about that?
See, that's where I'm at too, to where it's like I'm so happy he's getting that opportunity. I think it's great, but
Yeah.
I think for the team as a whole, it hurts more than it helps because then they also might get used to a different system playing with Pip, and when they get back, the chemistry isn't going to be where they want it. But I think there's still a chance. Bellevue, like from just an on paper perspective, are a very good team.
I've I've bought that lie. I've bought that lie for
Oh,
like
I
3
know. I
semesters
have
in a row, and
to.
I'm done. I'm
I've
done buying that lie. I'm
So
kidding. I'm
that's
kidding.
why I have Illinois second, but there is a chance Bellevue
Okay.
win. For Group F, ISU and part of me wants to say Madison because I'm from Wisconsin, but there's no way. I'll say Utah. Um, Group G, that's the one I don't know because even like I Illinois Wesleyan, I don't think are horrible,
No, they're
but
not. If you told me
I
that
just
Illinois
don't think
Wesleyan
they're
beat
that
Georgia
good.
Tech like a month ago, I'd have said yeah, whatever. I was really surprised to see Georgia Tech get 2 wins against top 20 teams. Like I them
Yeah.
king of the bubble, them depends on what we're calling the bubble, but them like in spot 21 all day long for me, but I was surprised to see them get 2 wins there, to be quite frank. I can't
Oh, agreed.
not give it to them at this point. Not I cannot give them the group, but I can't not give them, the vote effectively at this point. But yeah.
Yeah, I for now I'd say Fiends, and I'll go with Grandview, but I'm flipping a coin in my brain right now on that game. I think honestly, whoever's mentals are better going in because each of them I think might have already played Fisher at that point. I can check that, but
Okay.
that will be I think at least 4 maps, probably 5. And then Group H is it's BSCVA and Fisher. I think BSCVA got very lucky in their group to where they could have been put in a Group E or a Group A or B,
Hmm.
and they would have been screwed. Because I agree, they have not been playing as well as we thought they would,
Right.
considering how they did in fall. But I think they're gonna at least buy themselves another week or two because they were graced with a relatively decent group.
Fair. Fair. I mean, in some ways, it may have been a tactical Georgia Tech loss. Lose to them, and
Yeah,
then you find your way through it. I mean, we've always joked about that in ABC, and
yeah.
it's a joke, not really joke, wink, wink, of like, just lose a round 1 match. That's not when they lost to them, and go win the rest, and you'll be fine. Hey.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. They're so weird because I thought this year I'm like, oh, they're a solid top 10 team, and now I'm like, are they like 15? Like, are they lower than that? I think they're probably higher, but no, they've been a weird one to follow this year. I'm not sure exactly where they're gonna land. I think for them, even if they make top 16,
Hmm.
it'll be a match by match basis on if they can even do anything.
Okay. Okay. I mean, or maybe we're all wrong, and they're players that are off playing Valorant because I think they share a bunch of players for esports all come
Yep.
back and they go, nope, we're a top 8 team again. I mean, I
Yeah,
think they'd need
true.
a little scrim practice, but yeah. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um. Yes, Muck, I'm coming to the land there. Let me take a quick thing. Orion says Georgia Tech wasn't very impressive, and Ginja says we're talking smack on the Converse DPS. That's probably directed at me, which I thought you were talking smack on Converse DPS. But what about you, Twin Salty? What do you think about Converse's DPS line? So shall we let you sling some mud, or are you gonna wisely
Um,
avoid this one?
I think for me, Converse. I think they're slightly underrated, but I think their consistency has been the issue for me. Like,
I
when
don't
they're
think.
at their
Okay.
best, I think they are one of the better DPS duos we have, but for me, it's like they're
Oh,
not
interesting.
always
Okay.
there. For me, at least for me personally in the games that I've saw, sometimes if they play one of the better teams, the DPS duel does go the other opposite way.
Sure. I
So
mean, the
that's where
DPS
I'm at.
duel goes the opposite. Sure, sure, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I would have said about Converse. I think you've hit Converse correctly as an overall analysis. I'm not sure I'd have agreed with that last bit about the DPS. Like Converse to me is always they know their weaknesses, but they're innovative. They'll come up with weird shit, they'll hide weird shit, and then they'll use it in key matches. So like they can punch really high and do really well, and they are just good enough to not get in trouble either against, top 15 teams, etc. But then when they have it, they have it. But if they can't find something kind of weird, sometimes it's not, not quite as powerful. But that's, and they're
Yeah.
like the team that you've always seen in previous semesters or even now. The okay, here comes the SimTP. Okay, here comes the Torb, etc. sort of thing. So I don't feel like I see them hard winning DPS matchups there on good days. Though maybe I'm wrong, and I'm sure I just made a bunch of enemies at Converse there, which is fine. My teams and my relationships with teams seems to go up and down over the whatever. Oh, move you up through ranks. Oh, now we get along. No, anyways, um,
Yeah,
but
right.
I do think I have really liked the creativity they come up with to go. No, we are going to be a very good team. Though that can, when you're doing it with creativity, lead to a few whoopsies.
Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Um.
I would love to talk about CECC groups, but I think
Sure,
those
we can
come
do
out
that.
I think they come out Friday,
Oh,
I believe?
well, I couldn't do this stream on
Yeah.
Friday, so.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think the only thing we know about the format currently
Hmm.
is that the teams who won the major regionals, so Winthrop, Maryville, Fisher, and ASU are all in a mini group for seeding, and then it's the other I think it's 4 groups of 4 that are
Okay.
seeded with everybody else, top 2 go through.
Okay.
So I'm more curious. I think it'll probably be pretty cut and dry with the teams that I've seen qualify so far.
Let me see if I can
Um,
pull up a page so that people can see
I
what we're
think
talking about. Yeah.
Liquipedia has a majority of
Got
the
it.
qualifiers on there.
Eh, Try CCC. Yes, it will. So final. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so here we are. And it looks like we've had, oh, and we can see what everyone qualified through. So we had our major qualifiers. Our winners of those were Maryville, Fisher, Winthrop, and Arizona. And we had the other CSEC qualifiers included military had their path through ISU, Irvine, and Blinn. And then the sort of leagues that they've invited, we've mostly seen resolved at this point, but we haven't seen all of them. Looks like Northwood found their way in through what?
I
I'm not
think
sure.
to my knowledge, NECC got an invite
Oh, that would do it. Yeah, and
and
that makes sense.
Northwood was, yeah, which
Yeah.
makes sense. I think Boise qualified through Mountain West.
I wish they
Uh,
kept the things down at the bottom
I
here like they have on
know,
some of them.
yeah, I
Unfortunate.
know some of them just through other avenues. But like I know Big Ten. Let me see. Um,
Oh, but yeah, Big Esports Conference, that just hurts because Rutgers didn't go because
and
club, no
Illinois didn't
funding, and
go.
Illinois didn't go for same reasons. And now I've got the Terps. And the Terps, would be
They're all
fine.
right.
But they're not all right when we look at
Oh
this
no,
competition. Like the
no.
Terps top 40 team, sure, that sort of thing, fine, they can fill a tournament, but yeah. Um, okay.
So I think for me, it's like unless there's a supreme wild card that comes out from a few of those other qualifiers. Like I know obviously the tournament you're going to this weekend, I'm pretty sure is a
Yeah,
qualifier.
winner gets a bid, and I
Yeah,
know Northeastern can't do it. Graduation conflict plus a few other things is just too much
fair.
for us. But I mean, maybe Miami will beat us and get it, or maybe,
Yeah.
we'll say, hey, Miami, you can have it even though we beat you because we're going to beat them. But,
Yeah,
anyway,
of course. Of
that's
course.
for Shocker, and I'm sure he'll come back and find it.
But I don't know. I think this tournament will get interesting once it hits bracket stage. From my understanding, it's a 12-team bracket
Okay.
with those top 4 teams that you were just looking at. They get a first round bye, and
Okay.
then it's the other 8 that qualified. They'll go into like 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, and they'll
Okay.
just get feeded in. I
Hmm.
think that's when we'll actually find interesting games in
Well,
this.
how do we get our seeding for the rest of this? Our seeding for these each get a top seed makes sense. How do we do you know offhand how we get our seeding for the rest of this bracket, or are they doing
So I
groups again?
believe there's an internal seating that they're using for groups, and
Okay.
then for how they finish in groups, they'll get slotted into I think it'll be prioritizing where you finished in your group, and
Mm.
then your seating going into the event will be the secondary, I believe. I'm not
Okay, got it.
certain on that, but that's my guess.
So internal tournament organizer seeding to seed the groups in some way, play the groups, and then group results with maybe slight movements between which group goes where based on that original internal seeding. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And who do you think is going to? Do you think a different team is going to win ABC and CECC? Do you think it's going to be the same team? You're not
Ooh,
allowed
that's
to
a
pick
good question.
ASU, so I'll just protect you from
Yeah,
that.
I
So
that's fair enough.
yeah.
As much as that would be like the perfect graduation
Oh,
present.
it would be fantastic, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not yeah. Oh god. It's a good question. I think it'll be different winners
Okay, it
for
has been in the past,
ABC
so
in
that's not
this.
shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, which so who do you think has where? Let's get your predictions here, or maybe who do you think is the best team in collegiate? Where are you on that?
I hate saying it, but it's probably Winthrop. I'm one of
I
their
agree.
doubters too, but I can't like dismiss the results that they've had over the last week or two.
Yeah.
It was Maryville for the longest time for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I
That
do think ISU are a sneak, and ISU and Northwood could easily sneak in somehow,
I don't think
considering.
ISU can do it anymore. I think ISU could do it when they were playing as Left Right Good Night, and they did do it when they were playing as Left Right Good Night. That's when they went around and beat everyone. But now they're split up playing OWCS on a bunch of different teams. And
True.
since then, we've seen Northwood say, no, we care about the NACE championship. We've seen other teams come in and get them. And, we've seen Winthrop say, no, we actually do care. And the ultraviolet DPS is still better than almost anyone in the league. Quite, it's like,
Yeah.
um, so I'd agree it's Winthrop, and I think you're thinking Mir's mind almost exactly there. Do you think they'll win? You think different ones? Do you think they're going to win either one? Like they're going to say, "Hey, I don't care about this land thing," or "Hey, I do care about this land thing," or is it going to be by which is more money, or which happens first? Make some wild
I
predictions.
I think Winthrop may not win this event only because you kind of talked about it. They may not care as much as the Maryvilles, the Northwoods,
Yeah.
because they're obviously going to be looking at OWCC. Some of their most of their, if not all their players are looking at OWCS that weekend.
Mm,
It's like for me personally, I don't think they're gonna have as much effort, or they're not gonna want it as much as a Maryville or a Northwood, because Maryville want to go back to back. Northwood want to finally win this thing because they can actually go this year.
yeah.
So I think they just want it more. Does that mean Fish Winthrop's gonna lose? Maybe not, but I think it at least gives the other teams a chance to kind of jump up.
Well, okay, okay, that makes sense. I think there's also the possibility that by this time we've run into less scheduling conflicts, not more, because I have a sneaking suspicion that some of the teams that, like the event that happened with RuPaul, where RuPaul was in a collegiate match, I have a tough time believing that the OWCS team is ever going to allow that to happen again. So
No.
I wonder a little bit there, but I guess I'd have to think further about the next OWCS timing in terms of things. And I guess we've got a little bit of a break. And if we have a little bit of a break, maybe they just go win. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, so do you have anything else you want to get into here, or shall we just start going through and looking at schedules? Well, I'll catch up on chat a bit, but it's kind of that, or go through and look at schedules to see when the first good games are happening.
Yeah, I'm down
Uh,
just to go through some schedules.
Cool. So let's see if we can figure this out in terms of this, and we'll click into. I know this one already that our matches against both of you are in the last weekend, but let's find when St. Clair's matches are, because that way we can see St. Clair and ASU, and that is, if I can do this. Okay, looking at this, so it looks like
It will be during Texas weekend.
May
Okay.
4th. Yeah, so May 4th there, so that is that second weekend there. Yeah, that's you've got them on Saturday, we've got them on Sunday. Okay. Okay. Makes sense to me. So now
We'll beat them up a little bit for you. Hopefully,
what do you mean beat them up a little? You gotta be planning to beat them, man. We're gonna beat you and them, so I don't know why you're thinking you'll just beat
I
them.
would love to see a triple 7-1 group. I think that'd
We had
be
that the one year with, I want to say it was UTD, UCSD, and maybe Converse. I don't remember. I think that was like a year ago, but anyway. Um, and that was fun. That was fun when it happened. Okay, so Winthrop, is Winthrop gonna have any interesting matches? Let's take a look here. So Winthrop is going to have, looks like late as well. They've got Boise on the 4th, Boise on the 4th, Fisher Freaks on the 5th. So those are the next weekend as well. So are all of the top end matches going to be second weekend? Is that what we're going to find here? It might be.
potentially. Let me look at one of the lower groups.
And chat, don't worry, I'll catch up on you guys in just a second here. Uh, they've got
Yeah, I
Winthrop
think
then.
so. From what I can
Oh
tell,
no,
because
we've
BS.
got Fisher
Oh,
Freaks versus Boise, and that might be because Boise was third or fourth seed in the group. But Fisher Freaks versus Boise is happening this Sunday, the 28th.
okay.
So we've got a match on Sunday there.
Fisher Maine will play BSCVA that Saturday of Texas on the 5th.
Okay. Our previous group of death, how's it look? Nothing the first week there.
Yeah, Georgia Tech play Grandview the 4th.
Okay, so really, there's lots of action on the 4th and 5th, but it's really, we've only found one on the 27th, 28th so far. Oh, we've got
Yeah.
Irvine versus Blinn, so battle of the
Okay.
collapsing rosters on the 28th.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
It's something, that's for sure. I had no idea the UC Irvine stuff was going on because I watched their last game last week and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
they got
you
Romani on
saw
DPS. Like,
Romani,
what the
yeah.
heck's going on? So I was thinking like, oh, maybe like they just don't care enough about this game or whatever. And come to find out, it's like, oh no, there's issues. Like there's there's issues.
Got it. Oh yeah, that's so unfortunate, but I think it was bound to happen to at least a couple teams with how late ABC got started this time.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then UCI is playing St. Thomas on the 27th as well. So that's the Saturday, which is sort of the like first good game. And I know it's a collapsing UCI, but I don't know how collapsed because that's a varsity program on pretty good scholarships that, pulled pretty good talent. So even their bench should be pretty good, you'd think.
Yeah, I would hope. And like they do have McGravy coaching, so it's like I trust that they'll make it competitive.
Oh, I don't think they're like now a top 40 team. I think they're
yeah.
very much in the running. Like I'm saying, I think St. Thomas gets through, but I I mean, the reality is Blinn is still going to field 5 GM players. They're just going to have a support on Hitscan, I think, and UCI is as well, and probably with more recognizable talent, but a lot of uh, off-rolling to make things work.
Yeah.
Converse and Northwood. When are you guys playing each other? May 5th. Okay, that's not interesting. Okay. Okay, so you didn't see anything too early in the bottom half there. You checked some of those.
No, there's a occasion like there was one like mid-table game, but yeah, a lot of them are that second weekend. Let me see quick when Illinois play Bellevue. That's the only group I didn't look at yet.
Yeah, I think this is the other crowded group that maybe makes some sense to look into here.
Bellevue, Illinois do play this Saturday. That's my 12:30 my time.
Okay.
I think that's what 2:30 Eastern.
12:30 Pacific would be 3:30. Yeah.
3:30. Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so those are sort of some of the first games to look forward to here, but it looks like we are backloaded for the most part with the top games. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Nice. Cool. Cool. No, Hedwig, Blinn has a 6th player. They have an extra support player. So I don't think they have to forfeit their way through. I think they're okay. I just think I think they take less damage than Irvine, but they also weren't as high as Irvine to start.
Yeah. And like regardless of it, it's like it does hurt them no matter what with the timing. Like no matter who it was, like anybody losing a player right now is gonna suck. Like that's why even like ASU didn't look as great this last weekend because Angelic messed up his hand and couldn't play.
Ooh.
So I think we had Scylla sub in, which like
Okay.
don't get me wrong, he's been with the team for a long time.
Sure.
He still played really well, but it was like it's definitely different
Oh,
than
you
having
feel it
Angelic in on
anytime,
there.
especially on these 5-person rosters. It's a bigger percent of the roster. You feel it when anyone's missing, and when teams
Yeah.
try to show up to a scrim block with 2 ringers, and you're like, we're not doing this. That's
Yeah, it's
not
like,
the same team
no.
anymore. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm just gonna catch up on chat then here. Do you see anything that's jumped out at you that you want to address from chat?
I know someone who's reaching out for an ASU contact.
Oh,
I'm
that's
pretty sure they
Hedwig.
just
That's one of my
DM'd me.
players. That he'll
Yeah.
yeah. We'll get
I
you or I'll talk to
think.
Angelic. Whoever's doing organizing over there.
Oh, yep. They already reached out. Cool.
Perfect.
I will answer that after. Or just send them to Angelic. But yeah, I feel the cramming finals and final projects are like we're in that groove right now.
And I think
It is chaos.
I think the collegiate experience may cause us some upsets. Like I know I just I don't think I
1,000%.
deleted my colors. Like, you may see maybe we're gonna see GMU take down the Bobcats, which no one would see coming because the Bobcats have finals, or like, hey, people late on scrim time because everyone was flying home, or whatever the case is, or maybe New York is going to take down. Well, that's maybe less of it, but maybe the Pizza Pirates are going to take down ISU. The Pizza Pirates are not going to take down ISU.
No.
But hey,
As much as I'm rooting for the Pizza Pirates, it's not gonna happen.
I know. It's good stuff. Okay. Any final competitions before ASU besides CSEC and ABC, or are you guys wrapped up?
I think it is just that because yeah, we were out at NECC already for Legends,
Sure.
and NACE we had to FF out because of a final project, of course. Which is like for us,
It
like,
hurts.
it is what it is. We weren't totally of all the competitions for us to have to drop out of. It
That
was like
hurt the
okay,
least. Okay.
NACE Open was. It's like okay.
Oh,
it's
right.
fine.
You guys are in
It-
open, which means do you have anyone else in your bracket? Like that just ugh.
Not. I think it
can
was
see-
us and Illinois Wesleyan was maybe the other team that was in there.
Yeah,
that was,
I mean that's like
so,
I'm
yeah.
not even sure I would register my team for that. Not like in some spiteful way, but just in the sense of it's the problem with collegiate, and the reason that I've been happy to see Super Conference and Legends Division form is so many of these, like, you have 8 weeks, 12 weeks of matches, and it's not very valuable until the playoffs, and it consumes a scrim block. Your players still have to get ready, be there for the match, don't have flexibility. Like it bites into the schedule so hard if you don't have good match quality.
Oh yeah, I think that's why I think beginning of the school year, like, oh, we're gonna do NACE Open, and then I think we thought more teams were gonna sign up for NACE Open, and then it was like, oh, we are like, I don't mean this like sound braggy, but we were the best team in NACE Open. It's like, okay, it's like we'll get what we can out of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think everybody was like, out of the competitions we're in, the least
Yeah.
priority compared to like OWCC, OWCS, ABC. It's like we're not stressing too much about it.
Okay. Okay. And I know you do some casting. Do you have any events that you're following that you feel like, hey, this is the last thing to wrap up besides the main two? I think we're really just down to the main two, but
Yeah, I know NECC's been having their finals, which those are more for their lower divisions at this
I
rate, because
just
most of the
don't
Legends
think we
got
have enough
done.
teams that we might catch like maybe a yellow team in some of those. But yeah, okay,
Yeah. No, it's not like it's anything ridiculous. I think we are honestly just waiting for ABC this weekend and then Texas next weekend.
okay,
But yeah, at least on the bright spot on that side, like I know NECC announced their talent lineup for their interactions in Texas, but I think they're sharing the venue with the ECC from my understanding.
okay.
And I admit they actually have a pretty decent talent lineup going. I think it's Chef Billy and Bullskunk for Overwatch. I'm like, okay, I can
Yeah,
get
we can
on
get
that
behind
for
that.
NECC. Yeah.
Sure, sure. Okay, cool, cool. Then I think we're probably wrapped up here. I'm just going quickly through chat. I see Pooter Scooter from Miami, Ohio. Looks like people have answered your questions. Like you grabbed a couple of the question answers for their Twin Salty. Ginja, did we successfully smack talk your team there? Do you hate us, or are you the redemption of Converse DPS and carrying that on your back? Let me know. Um, and then Woods is saying you get a 7-man roster next semester, and you've got scholarship money to throw around and all sorts of things. You guys hear that? Grandview's the place for the mercenaries to transfer to, which there's a lot of transferring for mercenary stuff, and maybe we'll see that continue to, maybe we'll see that die down more over time in collegiate Overwatch, but we certainly have a lot of that in the collegiate Overwatch history.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I will just say I wish ASU had money. I wish
Uh,
there was maybe
I
one
wish
day.
I could get people into my school with GPAs lower than a 4.0. So, we have
Yeah.
different problems.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their recruiting issues.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool. Then I think, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything big here. We are, I'm pretty sure it's whatever. I'll double check it. Um, Oh, no flame. What has NYU done? What has NYU done? NYU, I remember in Swiss here, got a map off Boise and got pretty close on map 3 on Boise as well, if I'm remembering that. And then they were doing threatening things in ABC last semester as well. I don't think they ultimately made top 32 because that would have been the cutoff. And then they've found wins that you wouldn't necessarily have expected. They're not. They would probably be towards the lower end of the yellow highlights here, but I think that probably is the right place for them. Twin Salty, do they ring any bells for you, or do you go, that's the other side of the country? I don't care, Temporal.
It's same thing as you. Like I saw them do at least somewhat okay in ABC, but it's not like it's been anything
Right.
crazy to make
No, for
me
sure.
think any different. What I love to see them maybe like push Mizzou a little bit during their game, yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be anything
Okay.
absurd from that. I think if they finish like fourth or fifth in Group A, that's a win for them.
New. Oh no, sorry, wrong New York. You're looking at New
Oh, I was
York's
looking
B
at
team. New
Phantom.
York's A team is over in
Oh,
G Group, and
whoops, never
G
mind. They're
Group
gonna be
has more of an opening.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Phantom will be happy to finish maybe six.
Yeah.
Legion, they could. I don't know. With balls, man, that is just a gauntlet for middle tier teams. Um, I'd say anywhere from. I'd say like probably fifth. I think they can beat Ball State. Ball State hasn't really impressed me very much this year.
Yeah.
But I know they had some roster changes which heavily impacted it. But yeah, I'd say I'd put them fifth for Group
Yeah,
G.
that's what I'd have too. Okay. Okay. Cool. Then I don't think there's anything else here. So chat, it's been great. Boise. It was Boise Hedwig. Okay. But that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Hope to see you guys in the next one. You guys, if you don't catch it live, yell, leave comments, whatever, and we'll call it here. Thanks, guys. Twin Salty, any final plugs you want to give for your stuff?
Just follow me on Twitter at Jesse_Twin Salty. Funny enough, our student newsroom at ASU actually just published a story about ASU Overwatch. So
Oh, nice.
I retweeted it. Make sure to check it out. It was actually a very well written piece. So
Nice.
that's it for me.
Perfect. Then we're going to go ahead and call it here.